This is Informanté Radio, the sound for a new age. Every day we bring you the hottest music. Music mix.
Hey, let me tell you something.
They call him Mr. Well Done.
Boozy, pretty thing and you boozy.
And some outrageous conversations.
You don't even have to go too far. I mean, even today, we have something called traditional healers within all our communities.
Is that like the new name for witch doctors?
No. That's what the white men made it.
You do know that the traditional healers can see us talking about them right now. Right now. In their big bowl of water.
The morning mix on Informanté Radio. The sound for a new age.
Good morning and welcome to the morning mix. It is the sounds of Ethnics. What is the Manigis Namuga page in Esho? Yes. This one is titled Walengwa Moro Moro. Welcome to the morning mix. Opamanda Ochen.
Para Cube Samwe tanto ga walengwa so on Monday morning o jalengwa ne.
No? O qualita mutimos. I can't repeat what he's saying. Moro Moro Veria.
Morning.
How's you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You feeling a little better?
Slight.
Slightly better.
light.
Tatinawan is occupying the third chair in the studio this morning because Mr. Neville Besson.
Never had pick up too much weight. I think he was exercising too much.
Was he in the gym the weekend?
I think he was in the gym. His arm is acting up. So no, I can't acupuncture. What is that?
Where they stick needles into your body.
Yeah, he said he wants to consider to go for that. Apparently, the doctor is only giving him painkillers and.
It's not Otterdam Kama picked up with. Alright, how was the weekend, guys? Sammy Jays, you're the one who's always out and about over the weekend. Cause begin be you.
I just met Hector over the weekend. He actually called me. I was just home. I was like, I can't near him, but then he said no, he's in town. So I went to go visit him. That's an error location. I haven't been in error location for a while though. Yeah.
I saw he posted a picture, like a picture of you from maybe 1991 or something. Like an old picture of you.
The KCR picture.
Yeah, in the KCR studios, yes.
Yeah. No, I saw that. I was not on social media all these days since last week. I have to go check it out and see what it's all about. Yeah. But I was with him. He's quite happy to be in town though. Just talking, the normal stuff.
Yeah. No, it's good. You shouldn't be on social media. Alina doesn't have social media for the both of you.
You can say that again.
Why don't you get up to Miriam? You had rehearsals on Friday night. I want to know how that went.
I will say, in my defense,
Yes.
that the vocal coach said I'm her favorite so far.
Oh, okay.
Of all the trainings, not because I can sing. She just had the best session with me. We had Von Arense with his guitar. He took me through 2 songs. I can't sing to save my life.
That must have been so interesting, though.
It was fun, but it's also that realization that you still have so much work to do. But that was the Friday. But they stopped auditions because MTC, one of the
staff members
tested positive. So we're not going to be doing any vocal training or sessions for now because they want to keep everybody safe. Obviously, we also know that it also has happened to NBC. Also announced yesterday that
they have also a staff member.
That they've also positive. A staff member, so they are closing. They've closed the headquarters. But all in all, I think it was one of those weekends that would have been okay, but it obviously ended off devastatingly with the news coming in from Walfish Bay last night.
Bay, yes.
But yeah, that's the weekend.
Speaking of the news from Walfish Bay, as reported by the Informanté News, pandemonium broke out in the Tualaloka informal settlement of Walfish Bay following a riot in the wake of a fire that destroyed an entire block of shacks. Right, the tragedy has so far claimed the lives of 2 people, while more than 400 people were left without a roof over their head at a time when the COVID-19 pandemic has the harbour town firmly in its grip, right? The badly burned bodies of a child and an adult were discovered amongst the debris by members of the Marshall Rangers, a group of civilians that volunteered their free time to assist law enforcement agencies and emergency services. One of the volunteers said he assisted a worried father to help find his wife and child in the chaos. Do we know how the fire?
It's not yet clear how the fire has started, but we know that a whole block of shacks have burned. We know that there was a riot because what had happened, I think the fire brigade arrived and they don't have water points. So it had to go back. And obviously, with the residents getting agitated, started throwing rocks and bottles at the fire truck. And the NDF or reserve force were called onto the scene to maintain order. And there was I know they fired like rubber bullets and tear gas. I know that the residents were fighting back by throwing stones. A lot of property damage, including vehicles. But it was just this clash that happened. It was just you almost felt hopeless just watching this fire because it wasn't stopping. It was spreading very quickly. Very fast, eventually, they had to use tanker trucks. But tanker trucks.
Then the tanker truck ran out of water.
Yeah, it ran out of water, so they had to keep doing rounds. So use the water, go back, refill, come back. And in the meantime, the blaze is obviously like spreading. And it's devastating when you see what people of Walfish Bay are already going through. This is just like another thing on top of that. And then I think I was watching the live videos, and no masks could be observed. Obviously in a riot, nobody's thinking about it, but I'm thinking it's the epicenter. It's the epicenter, and it's in Kwisabmund, and we know most of the cases have come from there. So for people to be like rioting, and this with rioting, there's a lot of shouting and screaming and exchange. I just don't even want to know what the COVID-19 cases will look like in the next week.
I mean, we saw this from the States when they were having those mass riots. I mean,
masks at least.
Yeah, and even while they were wearing masks, in the wake of those riots, the numbers
increased.
Surged.
Yes, spiked very high.
So it's a very difficult situation. I can also, I sort of, I don't know, maybe I want to say I sort of understand. I mean, if you're in that situation where your house just burned down and you lost all your belongings.
And there's nothing you can do, actually. The frustration is...
Yes, that face mask will probably be the last thing on your mind.
Of course.
So yeah, we stand in solidarity with the people of Walfish Bay. But it should be a wake-up call, right? And I've noticed, especially in the coast, most of the shacks are built with
wood.
Yeah, with wood, because the corrugated iron and stuff like that, of course, rusts
very quickly.
Very quickly in the weather at the coast. Now, if you've got this material that burns so quickly, and all these houses are built so close to each other,
and there's wind.
Yeah,
there's wind.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Look, there's a lot of stuff like this. Really bothers me. Really, it stresses me to no end, because it's like nobody should be going through this. But I think it's more upsetting because, like, people are saying don't politicize it, but it's like, how can you not? How can you not politicize this? We are 30 years into independence. Nobody should be living in a shack. With a 2.5 million population, and now with the information that's coming, sorry to bring this out, but even with the information that's coming out of Fish Road, now we know our natural resources can feed the nation.
Yeah.
Okay, we know this. So the fact that there are still people living in shacks, still living in deplorable conditions, that the fact that this is even happening, the fact that they didn't even have water points, and by the way, Twaloloka means we are tired, literally, and it's funny how it just manifested itself. But the fact that you still don't have hydrants at I know it's an informal sector, but it's susceptible to fires, especially in the coast. Why don't you have hydrants? Why don't you have water points? It's stuff like that. But you start realizing, and this is where it becomes catastrophic, because you start realizing how much we have failed the people, how much government has failed the people. It should not be happening in an independent country, not 30 years after independence, and definitely not with a population of 2.5, and certainly not with the resources that we have. So this thing is happening. It's not the first fire, but it's the fact that fire after fire after fire, nothing is being done. And to add to that, this COVID-19 is just, it's completely exposed our shortfalls, whether it's in education, because children can't go back to school due to a lack of just even systems in place, whether it's a health system, people dying because there's no ventilation, people everything. It's like COVID-19 is exposing us so badly, and not just us, across the globe. If you have failed your people, if you fail to put your ducks in a row, COVID-19 is here to show you where you have failed your people. And this is exposing us. This should not be happening. It's highly, highly upsetting. And I hope government is currently thinking to itself, how can we restore not just self-esteem, but dignity? Very important. Dignity back to the people of the coast, specifically Twaloloka right now.
I am the last person to make sort of apologies for our government. If you are a regular listener on the show, you'll know that. But I do understand that sometimes some of these informal settlements, they spring up very quickly, and maybe and obviously it's unserviced land that they are on. So maybe sometimes, it takes a while for government to react, but it's also difficult to make that argument because you don't see them actually, even in the informal settlements that have been around for eons, you don't see them doing anything to sort of improve the situation or to just improve the readiness in case of any type of emergency.
It keeps happening. It keeps happening. It keeps happening. Till when? Apart from the some locations like Mondesa or Kwisabmund, the actual, like the formal, not so much the informal, the formal settlements, they have done some work there. But the ones that popped up, I remember when DRC popped up in Swakopmund, it was just a mess when the fire started there.
Fire started. It's like you could say they could have learned from previous fires that they had.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Nothing
they just
happens.
turn a blind eye. I don't know, probably hoping that there will be no more fire, but they know it's not the first case that we have of a fire burning like this. It has happened on numerous occasions. But what do?
We just keep it moving.
Yeah, we just keep it moving. It's like it won't happen again. Now it happens. There's nothing you could have done something. So we must really. It's about time that these guys are held accountable for all of this that they're doing.
Look, is there an argument to be made for maybe sort of decentralizing our government a little bit, giving a bit more leeway to sort of the governors and these people to make some of these decisions in their regions? I don't know if all these things have to go through central government or not.
No, I mean, there's local authorities. Local authorities are supposed to identify land, are supposed to identify projects. So there is to some extent, self-governance within the regions. I don't know if enough is being done. But it's shameful. It's all I'm going to say. It's very shameful that it hasn't happened. But I also, before we move on, I also think it's also an opportunity for us individuals to do something. I know there are people that are collecting items right now, whether it's clothing, whether it's blankets, whether it's winter, it's the worst time to lose your home ever. And then with COVID-19, I don't know where they're going to throw these people, if they're just going to toss them in one center, if they're going to open a whole, I don't know. I don't even know where people slept.
Over 400 people.
Yes, I don't know where people slept last night. So, but it should be a moment for us to try and help out where we can. I know some people just make sure it's legitimate, because I know people are using this. There are also people that use strategies to collect. But I know like there are people like, I know Space Borna, somebody posted on social media, is collecting stuff. If you're in Windhoek, I know Nast is collecting stuff, and then there are other individuals, but just do your background check to just make sure that it's the corridor group, Walfish Bay Corridor Group. It's in General Muatala Street, just here in Eros. You can also go drop stuff off there, but I think, and if you have access to people like Knowledge Ipinge, who's on the ground currently, try and reach out and see perhaps what measures they have in place to try, even if it's monetary. But please let us pull together and let us think of the people there, and even if it's just old items. I know a lot of us have kids that have outgrown their clothes. Just go clean out the cupboard a little bit. Take those clothes. Somebody they could benefit somebody, or yourself. Take some clothes. And go drop them off at this. Like, I've identified 3: Corridor Group, Walfish Bay. I said it's in Eros. There's Nast, and I know Space Bona. There could be others, but those are the ones I'm aware of right now. Just let's pull together and let's also help community.
Give a helping hand,
Yeah. If you thought the people of Walfish Bay needed us before, the situation just got like 10 times worse. This is the time for us as a community to really stand together. And when I say a community, I mean a Namibian community. I don't mean isolated to your locality, whether it's Pentuko or Chibarongo, wherever it is that you're finding yourself. As Namibians, we really need to stand together, and we really need to help our fellow Namibians in coastal towns.
That's in Valvisha.
Aita, we will keep you updated on that story. You can, of course, go to Informanté News to read the story in full detail as well.
Yeah.
Just looking at some of the comments here. Okay, no, let's get to the comments later on. Update on Namibia's COVID-19 situation at the moment. Yesterday, which was the 26th, we reported 148 cases. We currently stand at 1,775. was the highest number we have recorded.
That's the highest number.
We've got 75 recoveries and 8 deaths.
One more death reported over the weekend.
Over the weekend, yes. So at the moment, we have 1,700 active cases. And of course, as you know, it is no longer isolated to the coast. Windhoek has had its fair share of COVID-19 cases over the past week or so. So community infection is looking...
even the north,
increasing like the north. Yeah, even the
south, Karasberg has also been reporting cases on a daily basis. Katima also, there's always one case popping out every other day.
Yeah.
So it means the virus have really spread across Namibia.
And remember, these are places where we're not really doing testing per se, unless you yourself volunteer yourself to a hospital or a clinic or wherever where they're doing the testing. In places like in Windhoek or Katima, for instance. They're not doing the mass testing that they're doing in the coast.
Yeah, in fact, the 13-year-old from Marienthal that tested positive, this is a very weird case because he didn't even come to hospital with symptoms of COVID. He came there for something else, completely unrelated. The minister couldn't give full information because he also wasn't given the full information on why he came to the hospital, but it's clear in that he didn't come there for any COVID-related issues. He was then tested
and tested
positive. No travel history, no contact with previous positive cases. This is what I'm saying. When I say that this thing is spreading in communities, I don't say this to like scare people. It's just, I'm saying it's common sense to think that it is happening because we're not doing mass testing.
Yeah.
So this 13-year-old boy is prime example of how we know or shows us that this thing is spreading in the community. He didn't come there for him, has no symptoms, just came to hospital for whatever other reason, tested positive, 13 years old. So now you have to think, if he 13, you'll still live at home. So everybody in that house is potentially infected now.
Yeah.
Who has he had access to? At 13 years, there's no school, or I don't know if they're back at school. At 13, I think should be grade 8. I don't think they're back in school.
They're supposed to be back on the 3rd, yeah.
Yes, but they're playing with other kids in the community. So it's just a cluster. And it's
chaotic, guys.
It's happening.
It's chaotic. Like, I think it has finally hit the fan, and it's spraying all over the place, right?
It's like one cannot go to the hospital anymore just feeling sick. You'll just end up being tested for COVID. So I think it has also created that fear in people to go to hospitals. Because if you go to the hospital, even with normal flu, you don't want to go to the hospital.
Yes, you go to the hospital, you get tested, you test positive for COVID. You have to be in quarantine.
Yeah, and by the weekend, we had stories of like the ministry searching for 2 people that like gave wrong details. They tested positive, gave wrong details, left quarantine facilities. It's like, how irresponsible. At some point, can we start charging these people? They need to be prosecuted.
Yes, it is actually. You are endangering others.
You
by
are
doing
endangering.
That.
It's
reckless endangerment.
And it's quite literally a matter of life and death for some people.
Yeah.
So if you know you're positive, you're supposed to be in a quarantine facility, you escape that quarantine facility, you put off your phone, or you give wrong details, or you become untraceable, but you know you've been told that you're positive, you should be charged, even if it's attempted murders. At some point, we need to start taking this seriously, because it seems like people are not taking it seriously. It cannot just be a fine, because how many people have you infected? That's how, by the way, the Walfish Bay stuff started, because somebody
felt like,
I'm not going to stay.
I'm going to do my own thing.
Yes, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to live it up a little bit. So
it is crazy. Even when you look at the registers that you find in front of all establishment, or that you're supposed to find in front of all establishments, if you just scroll up a little bit with your eyes, you'll see that you can clearly see that most of those names, or some of those names, are not real names. Even some people are not even bothering to write anything that makes sense. Like, For instance, ID number, this person wrote like 4 numbers. Who has a four-digit ID number?
No, I saw even on ID, when they put like a...
Yeah.
The previous one. I'm like, you and I cannot have the same ID. So what do you mean?
My ID is also like yours.
Like, guys, I get it at the date, but how are you doing it at the ID?
Yeah. It's crazy because
it's laziness, man.
People are not taking they're not taking it seriously. That is the problem. But people still feel like, you remember, like, so it's noted that when we're having the conversation, what was Neville saying? I will say address gravy.
Yeah.
Not even like my exact address, just the neighborhood, for instance, where you live.
Yeah,
like,
you didn't want to write.
Yeah, don't want, but why?
And even
why?
the numbers,
If
they're just putting, sometimes you look at a number and you just know. It like somebody sucked it out of their thumb.
Yes, of course.
Like, why are you doing that? You are not understand that it is part of the contact tracing if something were to happen.
Yes.
Like now we know, for example, MTC's reported cases, NPC's reported cases. If you were there during that time, they would need to go back to the book and start contacting you and saying, you were here potentially. Wouldn't you want to know if you have it? Wouldn't you want to know if you have it so that you can not just protect yourself better by getting the care that you need, but also those around you? Why wouldn't you want to know? So why are you putting incorrect details? It's like the most preposterous thing. I just don't get it. And again, it comes back to how Namibians are just not taking this thing seriously. 8 people dead, and we still don't care. I see, like, on social media, people were getting ready to go out. Why are you going out? Like, this thing is getting more serious by the day.
Like,
Like, even I was out, but I'm like, I knew it was a bad idea, and I'm certainly not going out again.
I think last week for me was sort of a rude awakening.
Yes.
when the cases started popping up here in Windhoek. It was a rude awakening. I realized I had to be a lot more careful.
Exactly. Yes. When I was out, there were no cases in Windhoek. After those cases were reported, I'm like, Eggley and May is and I'm locking up everything. Just, guys, come on.
They say the solution is within the community. If you just keep to yourself, social distancing is the only way. But what I've seen is, do you remember when we went into lockdown? The attitude that every person had. Some people used to have those gingers and
people were more scared then.
Multivitamins. People were having that whole attitude of protecting themselves. But people don't have that attitude no more.
Yeah.
It's like
when we had 2 cases, people were more scared.
In the beginning we were so vigilant.
Now that we're on 1,000 plus, 1,700 plus, we are less scared now.
We are less scared. I don't know.
Maybe we're just tired, I guess.
Yeah, like those 750s would really come in handy right now, especially for the people in the coast.
Okay, let's go read through some comments.
Some comments. Max.
There's still the Sapo introspection.
You want to get to the introspection. All right. Max Namukuva, as much as we want to mix the virus with politics, God will just make the virus strong because we don't want to repent. We just want to blame other people. So you would rather mix the virus with religion? Because that's what you're doing. The virus and religion are also 2 different things. So if you're mixing in religion, why can't other people bring in their politics? Anyway, let me read your comment fully. No one requested for a virus in Namibia. As I was listening to Mulunga Radio on a program that was on air a few minutes ago, people are talking about how to find a solution to the virus, but some are bringing politics again. COVID-19 is in the whole world, not only Namibia. And if you let yourself to be stubborn, you will just die, because what is in the head is just COVID was brought with a reason. Wear your mask, wash your hands with running water, keep 1 or more meters from people, drink warm water, and eat oranges and many things. Okay, the best way to kill the virus is to pray to God and stop blaming others. No one requested for it to. So stay safe, I guess. Yeah, right, I'm done with that one. Brave man, Aroni Kainkop. Yes, it's true. Let us not mix with politics. Makwa, my condolences to the Walfish Bay community. Raymond Besson. All the blame should go to our government, nobody else, for what's happening in Walfish Bay. Yes, she's right, says Thomas Corber. Gladness Timothy, our government must build proper houses for the people to avoid tragedies like this.
Yes.
It's a shame to our leaders.
Yes.
You know, those building contracts normally end up not well, with money going in the wrong places and people still ending up with no houses.
So they build mass housing houses, by the way, which also happened in Walfish Bay with one door.
Yes.
Yeah, we all remember Lulu story.
Lost of
People will die.
if they say fire. Makwa, Maria, you are right. But our leaders will never accept that they failed the nation. All they do, just pocketing every cent that comes across them. Vosia Alana Greenwood, it said what happened in Walfish Bay, give the people the mass houses. Simon Amushira, I really thank God for Corona. Right now we know our leaders, family, friends, church members, and church leaders, who they are for us and you. Okay. Sebiuyana Kapitako is watching. I think you are in the States somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. I know you are also a regular on the show. Good morning, welcome. Maximus Instigator, Holy Boy, the government should put aside all the politics and work with the people on the ground. But you know, our leaders are also politicizing the situation in the coast. No. Case in point is, of course, the quarantine center, which was supposed to be standing by now, which had been offered to be paid for by the private sector in Walfish Bay. But in any case, Asino Kambikiti Erastus, common sense is not common, my sister.
Sadly not.
Yeah. Mass testing should become mandatory. Hage, please pronounce yourself. Let's hope so. Walfish Bay Fire Brigade failed the people. Gregory Paka Monde. Couldn't agree more with Maria. The actual fact is that we have a lot of resources and minerals in the beautiful country of ours that could have sustained our livelihoods and social well-being for the past 30 years in a small population like ours.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a ticking time bomb in Walfish Bay, says Joshua Hadula, Raymond Basson. An ocean full of water and a fire brigade runs out of water. What a joke.
Yeah.
Right by the ocean. Right by the ocean. Maria Ben, people ain't talking or ain't taking anything serious because of the political chaos in the country. It's just sad. I mean, people do tend to look to leadership for guidance at times like this. Yeah. And yeah, let's
the more reason that now the CIC should go to Walfish Bay with this health minister. I know they sent the deputy last time.
Yeah.
But now is the perfect time to go and give people hope, to restore some order,
yes,
to give people just a hint of things will be okay. You can only get that from the CIC. Go.
Dennis Shikongo, it's somehow confusing how this COVID-19 is diagnosed. How come people who come for other ailments just end up COVID-19? Deaths also are questionable. A person died of other health problems but ends up dead of corona. Look, I'm not really sure what information you're basing your comment on, so I can't really say one way or the other. But you can be infected with COVID-19 without showing symptoms. So if you do end up at a health facility and they do test you, if you have the virus, you're going to test positive.
I don't know if it's related to this, because I read in over the weekend an article where they said since the coronavirus, there's been 60% in unknown or mysterious deaths in South Africa. So they found that perhaps the infection rate and the death toll is higher for COVID-19 than people know, because people will die and then they will say, oh, we had
COVID.
Heart failure or whatever, stroke, but and then they don't test the bodies. But a lot of times because of this mysterious deaths that are happening, they actually find that like 60% of mysterious deaths that are unexplained, that they somehow think could be linked to COVID-19. It hasn't happened. It's not happening in Namibia yet, because I think I would assume if you die right now, they would have to test you.
Yeah, but by the way, when we are dealing with a pandemic, right? there are two counts. There's the incremental count, like what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Every day is like, 100 more cases, 250 more cases, and so on, which is, of course, the data that is available immediately. And then there is, I can't remember what it is that they refer to it as, but it's basically what they do, an assessment basically at the end of the pandemic. And that number is, under normal circumstances from history, it would normally be like 5, 6, 7, up to 10 times more than the actual incremental number that you're giving out every day, because there are a lot of people who are dying without being recorded as COVID-19 deaths. There are a lot of people who are getting sick, and some people will die, and the family will bury them.
Yes.
Normally, thinking it's some other ailment, but these are also linked to the coronavirus.
By the way, CIC is Commander-in-Chief or Commander-in-Charge, a.k.a. the President.
A.k.a. number one.
A.k.a. number one.
Yeah. Paula Halenge, this is evident that this government is a big joke, right? Once they need voters, they know where Twaloloka is, but after they're in power, they think of Twaloloka as an illegal settlement, inhumane treatment for the looting government, but let's help the Walfish Bay community with whatever we can. Yeah, don't worry. The day of reckoning for all these leaders who keep failing us is coming. For now, I think we should all be focused on just banding together and helping the community of Walfish Bay. Bossy Alana Greenwood, Mary, it's true. People should be charged. They have no regard for other people. I don't put my ID, just my name, location, and cell phone number. I will improve on that.
Yeah, just if you don't want to put the whole ID, just at least put your birth date.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think they're also just trying to assess how old you are, because the older you are, the more critical it becomes.
The more susceptible
so
you
just
are.
say like 2705.
Whatever year.
Whatever year. Just for
because your
example.
date of birth also it places your ID number. You don't have to really.
It's the first 6 digits. Of
Yes,
of
first
the ID
6
number.
digits. Yeah.
From backward.
Nosha Toivo Kapapilo, good morning, crew. With the help of social media, we are all aware of what happened in Twaloloka last night. My suggestion is that all municipalities around Namibia should go around suburbs announcing through the loudspeaker for people to drop anything that you can offer or no longer use in front of their gates. Then the municipality or army trucks can collect the items and transport it to Walfish Bay. We are in a state of emergency, and the use of army transportation will be the fastest. Let us pull together and assist our fellow Namibians in Walfish Bay while we continue masking up and sanitizing. That is, it's admirable, but just remember, just imagine how those words would resonate with every soul within Namibia if it was a plea that was coming from number one, number two even. Anyway, Michael Mukwilongo, that's really true. People are so afraid to go to hospitals, and for people to avoid quarantine is that the conditions in these centers are horrible, and some people are single parents and living with their children home alone. Who is going to feed the children? Government must do more to stop funding the defense force. All right, the virus is invisible, and NDF cannot have a field battle to defeat the virus.
May I ask? Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
For example, the case in Ludwigsdorf.
Yeah.
Right? How are they being quarantined? At home? In a facility? In a quarantine?
No, even Auersblick. Auersblick is very close to the State House, by the way.
Yeah. So I want to know, even the previous, because these aren't the first cases reported in Windhoek, by the way. The previous cases, before we went on to a blood break, we had kids that were coming in. I wouldn't call them kids, but like young students that were coming in from other countries, and they tested positive. I know there was even one that came from London, one that came from South Africa, I think Johannesburg and so forth, that tested positive. How are those people quarantined? At home? In a quarantine facility? Because, not to make this a racial thing, I don't see white people in those quarantine facilities. Understandably, because it's the communities of Kwisabun.
That's always affected.
The Kwisabun community is not white people, but white people have been infected as well.
But these guys are going to work, and most of them are working either for white people or in offices with white people
That's
or in spaces where
I haven't seen white people in quarantine facilities, the ones that we've been seeing. So where are they being quarantined? In Swakopmund, I know there are white people that were also tested positive. Where are they being quarantined? I'm just trying to understand. Are people allowed to be quarantined at home? And maybe the ones that are not quarantined at home is because of the home setup. I'm trying to understand how the situation is working.
Like, it's so unclear.
It's so unclear. Is it a definite, like when you're positive, you will go
to a quarantine facility, or do you have an option to quarantine yourself?
Do you have the option to quarantine? If, let's say, I say I live at home alone, do you have that option? Is it mandatory? Because then it's... I need clarity because, like I said, I don't want to make this a racial issue. I'm just trying to understand because I'm not seeing white people. I'm not seeing white people at those facilities. So let me understand how it's working. Do they get quarantined somewhere else? Are the upper class, whether white or black, quarantine in their homes, quarantine at hotels, quarantine at lodges, quarantine in... What does it look like? I'm trying to understand that because right now it just seems like the marginalized communities are the ones again suffering. So I need clarity on that. I will find clarity on that because it's not clear to me.
Right. Okay, I think we can move past this one for now. This COVID-19 thing is not going anywhere. We're going to be, discussing it over and over and over again, almost every day.
Yeah, no.
So let's move to the introspection. Let's touch on the introspection. Let me just read this quickly. Commentators have called on the ruling party to set up a commission of inquiry to deal with rumors that it benefited from the fish rod bribery scandal. Right? Former Prime Minister Nas Angula has described the ruling party's post-mortem gathering on last year's general election over the weekend as a farce because President Geinkop was surrounded by yes men and yes women while dissenting voices were nowhere to be seen. All right, I didn't even know the party was having something this weekend. I think they kicked me out after I started talking a lot here on the air. But in any case, so the party was having a little soiree this week.
Introspection, they called it. It's a 2-day activity, just ended yesterday. Yeah, no.
What was that all about, though? Is it like a debrief of the election?
It's like a post-mortem kind of situation from the previous elections that they had.
Trying to debrief. I mean, the fact that in November they lost the most seats they've ever lost in the history of SWAPO. The fact that there seems to be like infightings
in-house within the party,
or rather members speaking to the media. Obviously, the fish rod thing, which they've denied, but even that is a blemish on their identity. So yeah, it's that. But here's the thing. Okay, let me just clarify. I introspect occasionally, right? When things are not okay, I really do. Like whether it's in my household, if my kids are not happy, or there's just turmoil at home, I try and take a step back and just study and understand why things are going the way they are. Why aren't the kids happy? Or why are the kids a little bit naughty now? Why aren't they listening to me? And then you find, okay, the kids are bored. What does it mean? It means entertain them more. Or maybe I'm moodier. So when I come home, I'm shouting at them. So I need to change my habits, because they're feeding off of my energy. Or whatever it is, I'm saying you're supposed to study a situation, yourself included, and say how you're contributing to the problem.
What part am I playing?
What part are you playing? How can I change? Because to be part of the solution, it's generally you're part of the problem, therefore you can become part of the solution. So that's introspection, is really looking at yourself and how you're contributing to a situation and trying to change it. It's very, very necessary to do that. Occasionally I do it, like I said, not just in the home, even in the office if my staff is not happy and so forth. It's very, very important in relationships.
But you need to be honest with yourself in those situations.
That's I was about to say. That's the first step. The first step is honesty. And the second step is accountability. Because you cannot account for your mistakes. If you're deflating and you're making it the next person's problem, and you're looking at a situation where you're the victim and it's somebody else's fault, you can never really resolve and work on the situation because it becomes a you're to blame finger pointing. Now, I thought coming in, SWAPO would seriously look at themselves, and even if it's to understand why is this the split, why are former cadres like Nahas
General
and Pedukeni and so forth, why are they speaking against the party outside? You need to introspect and really understand why. Why is there the division? Where did it start? What can we do to kind of bridge the gap? Why did SWAPO lose seats? And I mean serious seats in the November National Assembly elections. You need to study and really introspect. Why, if you're saying you're not really guilty of corruption, why isn't the fish rot allegation going away? Why isn't it going away? What can you do to restore trust to the people, your members and your supporters and the nation, even if they don't support you, because you are the leadership, you are the ruling party. So that's what I expected, and I was very hopeful that this is what's going to come out. And maybe it was done behind closed doors, but based on the speech that they came out with, that didn't look like introspection. It was like, there's no crisis. The people must stop.
They're still keeping up appearances.
They're still keeping up appearances, still trying to give this SWAPO, the party that is so solidified and that is united and that cannot be shaken. I mean, they said it as well. You're trying to do the impossible. You cannot break SWAPO. Anything can be broken. Trust me. If you don't take proper action, every party can be broken. So
yes.
you're not immune to criticism. You're not immune to like distraction. But it's like, how do you fix it? And like I said, maybe behind closed doors, they did it. Touche, bravo if they did. But based on the speech I read, it left me so disappointed.
They have a lot of this almost shooting themselves in the foot moments. It's almost too easy now. It's just make it too easy. But look, personally, of course, there's a lot at stake because this is the party that is in charge of government. But I always like in my head to keep the two separated, to keep government and the party politics separated, because, you know, the party is a private entity, institution or whatever. If they want to run it corruptly, that's their business. But like when it comes to government issues, like the issue of governance and I mean situations like what is happening in Walfish Bay, then I become more interested in the issues like the fish rod, where the party is directly implicated. Then obviously it becomes an issue of national interest. But the one thing that was interesting that I'm also seeing in the papers.
Before you continue, governors are political appointed. So how are you separating SWAPO and government?
How am I separating SWAPO and what?
And government.
And government. For example, the governors are political appointees.
Yes, political appointee.
Yeah.
But when it comes to issues of the state, for instance, deputy minister. That is for me what a democratic government is supposed to look like, where you can even appoint somebody from another party because they are competent. That means, like, you know, the party functions as it's, like, I mean, as an entity on its own. But when we're talking about governing the country, it's not necessarily the party politics that comes into play. I mean, it's difficult to separate the two, I know, for most of these guys. But in my head, I like to separate the two.
But it's impossible.
It is not impossible. It is the SWAPO. You see that narrative.
You are very correct in saying it is. Even for example,
no, the narrative, that narrative, right, is why people who work for instance, for Ministry of Agriculture, feel like they work for SWAPO, which is not true.
No, I understand that part, but I'm saying, for example, we're talking about Walfish Bay. You're asking what the governor can do. The governor in a Rongo region is a political appointee. Politically appointed. He's not appointed through government. He's appointed politically. So again, you say, how do we separate? Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult as well when SWAPO keeps saying, the ruling SWAPO party. The ruling SWAPO party. The ruling SWAPO. It's very difficult. I understand that affairs need to be separated. The affairs of the organization, which is SWAPO, needs to be separated from the affairs of government. But it becomes very difficult when your ministers, for example, your cabinet, is largely SWAPO. So whatever is happening in the party, it trickles into government. Their decisions in their party trickles to government. So it's almost, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a very difficult, it's a very thin line to separate party and party politics and state politics, because a lot of times they're very intertwined.
Look, I think maybe the fact that we've only had one party governing the country since our independence, maybe that makes it a bit more difficult for us to separate the two, because we've never really seen government in the hands of another party and see SWAPO like basically as a separate entity, not necessarily as the government. But I still feel that is a distinction that we need to learn to make in our heads.
Let me give you another example, right? Pendukeni was speaking up against, or ran against the president. Yeah? She was, at the time, considered a very competent minister of Home Affairs. What did she do? She lost her job.
Yes.
Her government job, because of party affairs.
But that is wrong.
Okay, I understand it's wrong, but I'm saying how then, if they can't separate them, when I say them, I'm talking about
leadership.
The leadership. If they can't make that distinction,
but look,
how do we make a distinction?
I expect the leadership to sort of conflate the two, because it plays to their advantage. Like I can like for instance with the issue in Walfish Bay, right? It's being politicized because look, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole where we're discussing government again.
It's a SWAPO government. I don't know why you wanna.
No, it's the Namibian. It's the Namibian government.
It's a SWAPO government. It's not the Namibian government.
Even when you go to the ballot and you vote, you don't vote for the ministers you want.
Yes.
Okay?
But then that means our system is flawed.
No, it's not flawed. It's the system. It's a different system. For example, in some countries, they have what they call pass the buck, I think, or something like that, where the constituencies elect their leaders, they campaign in there, and then, based on the person, then goes to parliament. So, basically, you give... Botswana, by the way, uses that system.
It's almost like the system we use in the lower house.
Yes. So basically, exactly. So you vote for your leadership on constituency level, community level. You identify your leader. So when that leader goes to parliament, they are fighting for the constituency. They're fighting to get development for the constituencies. We don't have that system. What we do is you vote for a party for the National Assembly, and based on their party list, each party has a list that they decide amongst themselves. Those people then go to parliament, and then the leadership is then chosen within those structures. So,
but then technically you are, because the party, I mean, unless you're PDM and you decide to go change the list after the fact,
you can't.
If the party gives you a list, and then you look at the list and you decide, okay, these are the people I want in power, and I'm going to give you guys my National Assembly vote. That is technically you voting for your representatives in the National Assembly. No,
not really. For example, if somebody is doing a good job, okay, let me say, for example, let's say I like Tom Alwendo, just an example. I think he's an exceptional leader. Tom Alwendo is not popular, let's say, within the party, despite him doing a good job. So then within the party, he makes it to, let's say, 136 on the list. Okay? No matter how many votes, I can't bring that man up. Because the party has decided. And with the zebra stripe, maybe it goes lower.
Then you're voting for the wrong party.
No, but I'm saying...
your party should be putting the most competent people at the top of the list.
But you're not understanding the point I'm making.
But they have a list.
I don't have a say in that list and where I want my representative placed. Because it would be something else if we were going to tick on the people we wanted. That's not how our votes work. We don't tick on individuals. We tick on party, just like we took on presidential candidate. That's just what it is. Even the presidential candidate, I don't get to choose. The party decides who the presidential candidate is, and then based on that, if, for example, the feeling is that another person is more competent. If the party politics comes into play and that person gets shut down, we saw it with Hidipo Amutenya, for example, where at the time a lot of people felt was more competent than Pohamba. I'm not saying Pohamba was a terrible president. I'm saying at the time that's the feeling.
Yeah.
If, for example,
but then there are repercussions for stuff like that. And look at it. I mean, Hidipo, maybe not as big a chunk out of the party as one would have thought, but when the party shunned him, basically, he started his own thing and he took a large following with him.
Well, marginally, but the point is, he could have been a president within
the
party, and therefore on the national level, he could have been the president we deserved at the time. But because of politics that came into play, but we never got that
Maria,
chance.
That doesn't change for as long as we, the voter, have that cult-like behavior. I mean, nobody holds the party accountable when the masses are clearly saying, ons soek vir Geinkop, and then you decide, nee, ons gee nie vir Geinkop, we will give you this guy. And then you still go follow the party because it is my party.
Yeah, but things are changing, as we saw at the previous elections.
Yes.
So things are changing, and this is why then SWAPO, I would think, was doing an introspection to then see how they can bring it back. But like I just felt like there was a lot of dishonesty in that introspection. Like I said, I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but based on the official speeches, it just didn't seem like people were ready to account and really take serious. Because even the slate politics, which, by the way, did not start with Geinkop. Let us be clear. He just named it a slate. That's why. But we know even the founding president had his own slate. Even Pohamba had his own slate. So for I know Nas was speaking to Windhoek Observer and said, yeah, well, in the 2017 Congress, there's this new phenomena called slate politics that divided the party. No, let's not be disingenuous. It didn't start there. Now I should know this very well, because even with Hidipo Amutenya, that was slate. That was all slate. So Hage named it what it is, but it did not start with Hage. So again, let's go back to that. How do we fix the problem?
Yeah.
How do we fix the problems? They're not going to be fixed.
No, but like you see, and that's in this country, ne? Oh, you guys just give me heartburn. We, like, for instance, right, the problem is right now, the problem has been labeled a Geinkop problem. Corruption has been labeled a Geinkop or Geinkop administration problem, which is not the case.
Yes, because we know the golden years were not the Geinkop years.
It's all good and well to speak up.
The Tenda years, the Range Rover years, we know it was before Geinkop.
So yeah, it's a bit disingenuous. If you're going to address corruption, then address it in that broad sense. For instance, just making an example, somebody like Nahas, who's one of my favorite politicians, when I saw lost me Simon. Yeah, but like for you to start and trying to be pointing the finger at Geinkop and solely at the Geinkop and Geinkop's administration, when I think he was the man with his finger on the pulse during
he was the prime minister during the GIPF.
Yes.
I don't know if he was or Geinkop was. I think it was. Nas during the GIPF, during the Social Security was, yes. I think.
Geinkop, I think.
Geinkop, yes. I think. But even all the other Cora awards, it was Nahas. So yes, it's very. And I listened to his interview where he said, well, during my time, we didn't have fish rot. Yes, we know fish rot is the biggest one.
Yes.
Like, let's be clear, we know that.
But you had JPF rot, you have Cora rot.
We had so many other rots
yes.
that were happening there while you were also in power.
Yes.
And I don't remember you speaking up or saying...
Yes, that you see, that self-righteousness is what takes away from your message, because it's disingenuous.
Yes.
We know when you were there, most likely you also had your finger in the pie. Most likely, more likely than not, you also had your finger in the cookie jar, right? It's okay to be speaking out now from the outside, but don't try and act like you are holier than thou, because we know you are not.
You are part of the system.
Yeah, but I think they are just trying to justify their wrongdoings.
Or shift the blame, rather.
Shift the blame. They're trying to find somebody to blame for everything that's happening.
And that's because nobody is being accountable.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, if SWAPO is clear that the party did not benefit from fish rot and that it's individuals, then expel the individuals that are implicated. Geez, it's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. Take a no corruption stance. Delete money. Oh, you guys received money from Fatak. You know? I'm just saying, anybody that is then implicated, whether it's the Sisa Namanjas of this world or whoever, say, bring back the membership card. We cannot be seen. First, go clear yourself, and
Sever
then
your ties,
yes. But you need to take like a clear stance on where you are on corruption. It cannot be like, oh, the organization is not at fault. Only individuals. But where are those individuals? Arma Samukuyu is still.
Yes, he's still sitting there.
He's still sitting there coordinating in Oshikoto region. I mean, it's almost a joke at some point. We need to laugh because, wow, I will cry if I don't laugh.
Like the funniest thing would be when SWAPO finally loses power for them to be calling out the next administration for corruption. Like, you guys are corrupt. Oh, man. All right, let's read a couple more comments before we step out of the studio. Let's start here. Adolf Lori Pamosh Congo. Very few do not have the cookie in the pie, or do not have. Boshe is saying Nahas wants to become president, and then Asino is saying he must sit down. It's like,
sit down.
Karam tumba tate. Yeah. Michael Mukwilongo, are there books that give details of the functions of the Namibian Defense Force when it comes to allocation of budget? And if the soldiers are forever complaining about unfair treatment or non-promotion within the Defense Force, then why do you keep...
Is your thing doing this or just mine?
No, it's just yours. Mine is fine. Education on that, then I really don't have time to even waste my valuable time to read such books because then that means I probably am the dumbest person that would ever exist. Okay, Exal must still play. True Maria, let them make a stand. SWAPO is too quiet. You like the voters, you guys you have more of a voice than the leaders. Especially come elections.
Okay, can I tell you my predicament sometimes that I sit with, right?
Yeah.
I'm not loyal to any singular party. When I go and vote, I look at who I think the best person is on the ballot. Yeah. Right?
And remember, like, that is objective. No, not subjective.
Yeah, that is, of course, it's always subjective.
Yes.
So it's just me and my assessment and whatever. Like, especially if other people have not gotten a chance. How do I know, for example, Itula will not be a good person if he's never had a chance, right? But I'm already biased. Yes. I've already decided I don't like this man, for example. It is subjective. You're very correct. So I'm not a party loyalist. I just, for example, I'm very clear at the National Assembly that I don't give my vote to SWAPO because I do feel like you need more
SWAT boys.
It doesn't have to be SWAT boys, but you need a fusion for democracy. Like, democracy is sweeter.
There needs to be a proper debate on issues.
When there's proper debates and there's different parties coming into that debate. It cannot just be one voice. So I never give my vote to SWAPO on the National Assembly, even if, let's say, I was a SWAPO. I just don't, because I believe in extending that. Now, on the presidential thing, my challenge becomes then, I'm not just going to not vote for, let's say, the SWAPO candidate because of my issues with SWAPO, right? I literally will look at the ballot and, based on my own subjective views, who I think the best candidate is.
I understand,
yes. So that's the challenge. So then you say, yeah, but you voted for Hake. Okay, I did. But for me, he was the best person on the ballot. That's just it. Forget his SWAPO. He was, for me, the best person on the ballot. I didn't know Itula. I didn't feel like he had political experience. SWAPO, I still think is still too young for that. For example, that position, I think he still has to grow within himself. And I can make that case for other people. I will never vote for them. Anyway.
Why didn't you vote for the NEFF guy?
So that's generally the challenge. We need also, like, quality leadership on ballots. Again, subjective.
It's us.
It's subjective.
Let's run, but
we don't get
money.
those quality leaders on ballots because of that list.
Because of the list. Thank you. Because of the party list.
That list is the reason
I don't have a say there.
Yes.
I don't have a say there.
Then maybe
you look at some people in the party structure and you know they will make exceptional presidents.
Yeah.
But in the ranking, they're not there.
But then these are reforms that should be happening within the parties, because, like, for instance, this is a clear situation of where the state's affairs have been separated. Obviously, these people will affect the state's affairs once they get into power, but when it comes to selecting them, maybe, like, the party followers are supposed to hold the party's feet to the fire a little bit. Skree, say on soek for Maria. If you don't check. If you don't give us Maria, we're gonna vote for Shines, guys.
That werkt nie so nie.
No, but that's how you hold their feet to the fire. There's nothing else you can do.
The party politics are so different. You have almost no say unless you're a party member, and within the structure, you can scream your lungs out that you want, for example, the next president, just an example, to be the first lady currently. For example, we want Monica Genkos.
Yes.
Just an example, to be the next president. The party will not give you Monica Genkos on the ticket.
But
no matter how much noise you make.
Look, here's the thing. If you don't give us Monica clearly wants to run. Fine. And we want to vote for her. That is our preferred candidate, us, the electorate. Right? If you don't give us Monica, we will go vote for Monica as an independent candidate, because now there's a whole new phenomenon of independent candidates, or another party, for instance, or whatever the situation may be. But here's the thing. We want the person for as long as they are within the party structures, because it's like a cult-like behavior. I'm not going to leave the party. This one we're going to go down together. You can drive this guy into the ocean, we're going to sink. I'm going to be complaining all the way, but I'm not jumping off. And that is going to keep bringing us back to this particular point, where we are crying that leadership has failed.
The parties agendas. I can give you an example of a friend of mine. He's young, he's energetic, he's talkative,
vibrant.
You can be like, this is the guy we want to be in leadership. But when he went to now that Swapo Congress they have within our hood, to begin the utopism 8 werk.
Yeah.
They come up with funny excuses. No, this guy is from the north.
He's too young.
He's too... they just come up with something, but he's the right guy for the job. But they will not give it to him.
It's ek is die ene wat gaan vote. It doesn't matter who you...
Maar no, kijk, so ek gaan vote, maar...
Dan gaan vote jy nie vir die persoon nie. Teach them a lesson, guy. That's what I'm saying. Like, you remember after election when Gankop was saying, I heard you. Because of the way that electoral map looked once all the results were in, it's like, I heard you. You guys are dissatisfied.
The youth go vote for yourself.
The youth go vote for yourself.
And what did the youth do? They still went to go vote for him.
I don't think it was the youth, by the way.
The youth did not vote for him.
Yeah, but like that is the power that we refuse to accept almost, the electorate. We honestly, in a functioning democracy, right? Nobody is more powerful than me with my voter's card. And I'm not talking about me as an individual. I'm talking about me as in all of us as a collective. We can shape which way our government is going to go, one way or the other. If you are part of the party, then of course you get involved at party congresses and at that level. Of course, once it gets to elections, you have
but
no
you know
say.
how many loyal people did Swapo lose because of their list that they follow? It's a lot. I can give you an example of Leketo, for example. He was so pro Swapo from no. Just ask him now, and you'll see the response he will give you.
I remember he told me he campaigned, he helped them recapture that constituency of his where he stays in Commersdal, which was a PDM stronghold for the longest time. and now is one of, but you see, that's how you hold the party accountable. Let them see that we are losing good people because
now
he's
saying that
if it's just one person who does that, in the grand scheme of things, it makes no difference. But if enough of us can stand up and say, hello, you can't keep taking us for a ride like that.
So I hope during their Congress they did identify things like this.
Yeah, let's hope so.
I just think we need to change. Can I quickly read up a little bit on this? For example, the Botswana, I was trying to get the correct words right here. For example, National Assembly in Botswana, right? The 63 members of the National Assembly include 57 members elected for 5-year terms in single-member constituencies using the first past the post voting. That's the one I said, past the bucket. I wanted to say, it's that first past the vote. 4 members elected by the National Assembly from a list of provided by the President and 2 EXCO or official members, the President and the Attorney General. So basically out of this 63, you have 53 members at constituency level. You vie for this position at constituency levels. You fight for them there. The community will vote the person that is going to represent them for Parliament for 5 years. So you have 5 years to fight for your constituency in Parliament, to make sure that the development is there. And then 5 years later, you go back to your constituency, you have to report back. They're going to either re-elect you or going to replace you. But what that usually means is that development happens at constituency level because the constituency leaders are actually in Parliament level. Yeah. In Parliament, fighting for the constituencies, fighting for the development of the constituencies. That's how it should work. Now we're just finding like people that are neglected. You find like, let's say majority of Parliament is from Omusati region or for Hangwena region. But they're not even fighting they're not there to represent their constituencies or their regions. They're there for their own affairs, and because they're voted within the party, they want to appease the leadership, right? They need to
I need to keep the boss happy.
Yes.
So I keep my job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, again, it's just the system itself does not work. Can we change the political system of getting our leaders into Parliament so that we can at least make sure that there is development is happening? Yes, it reaches root levels, ground level. Because right now it's just politics of the belly. It's the most exhausting thing. By the way, the introspection I wanted to add, we had Minister Leon Jooste, Kali Schledwijn, and Tom Alwendo, for example, that spoke up on corruption. They didn't speak up against government. Oh, well, in a sense, they spoke up against government because government was responsible, but spoke up on corruption. And they were quickly ushered into the room and told, hey, Chipratni, you don't do that.
You don't say those things out in public.
Speak against your own leaders. You see, and what happened? They kept quiet because this is that reprimanding system where the party will ultimately decide your fate. So you are always towing the line. You cannot speak up. You cannot really do what you need to do. You need to report to the party. The party can boot you out just as quickly. So it's like it becomes like a personal, you just think about your own personal survival. And you're not thinking of the people. And it's all BS. I'm sorry.
Rotten system.
So rotten.
The system for us.
Where are the people that were calling me stupid when I was, airing my views during election, irregardless of who I figured maybe I was going to give my vote to? Because
you were Itula fan.
Also, your issue was with Itula.
The issue was with Itula.
I can sort of understand why many people had an issue with him. He's not necessarily the easiest person. But in any case, I think that is the morning mix for this morning.
Yeah, I think you didn't read a lot of comments. Just read some and then we call it a day without opining.
Okay.
People are not going to be happy.
We want Mr. Kafuka Namibia as our next president. Finish. Vosia is also, declaring I voted for Hage, just in case there's a tender out there. Avontre Karuumba, it's time to look back and see what good the current leadership party has brought to this country. These guys are old and stuck on old tactics, all right? If they fuse themselves with young people for ideas, yes, then we know that the future is safe. Personally, I feel going forward, Swartboy is busy building something good by giving us youth a chance to be involved. Dion Chimsizzle, here's the thing. Those that have their bread coming from SWAPO, them and their families, will vote for SWAPO. That we can't blame them for, and it will not change immediately. Occult behavior.
But you blame them, the hand that feeds you. People are trying to survive, and I hate that. And I hate that is the system that you quite literally need to be loyal to who's feeding you. But if you need to eat, Tim would eat me, brother.
But where's your sense of patriotism, I guess?
Yeah, I get it.
We should be building a society in which everybody is eating. I want to park my convertible outside and leave the key in the ignition without worrying about one of these Tura boys taking my car.
Yeah, you and I can take a principled stance, but I think it's also easier for us because we're not within the system.
Yeah, that's true. Right? I'm seriously going to run for office. Okay, I'm going to start at home. Asino Kambikiti Erastus, I just need to polish my public speaking first.
You'll be better than Congo, don't worry.
But Namanje will sink the boat, Maria. If you throw him out there, you're like, hey, I will shoot holes into that boat. You'll steal me. Like the safest place to keep me is on board.
It's on board.
Yeah. Yeah. True, Maria, let them make a stand. Swapo is too quiet. Very few do not have the cookie. Oh, we read that, we read that. I think, we've covered most of the comments for this morning.
And there's that who is the EFF man again? Julius.
Yeah.
Julius was also,
7 years,
yes,
right?
he was also so, ANC, I will never leave this party. Vare say no.
EFF celebrated 7 years this weekend. Growth, I must say, that's one thing you can say about the EFF in South Africa. The growth that they've experienced in the past 7 years is really commendable. So yeah, let's hope that we can see something very similar in Namibia, because it is important for democracy. Yeah.
All right. Two more comments. We need to vacate the studio. The next crew is already ready to take over. Cubase. Not all of us think the same way. Namibian voting system is divided into two clusters: loyalists, those who benefit directly from party on breadlines, and people who want services. And then Lamek Konjashili saying, Meme Sophia on Saturday said, all of you that are 45 to 50, stand up. And she said, now see, they are saying we are not grooming youths. Look at them now. Come on, 45 to 50. We are grooming the youth.
Is that now considered youth?
Rob Viera is saying, ha, AQ. On Sukuni, Mioka, topic. Oh man, right guys, enjoy the rest of the Monday. I hope of course this will kickstart your week if it was a slow one. And you make sure you catch the hour with Tatinawanes and Kaufman. That's between 12 and 1 today. Yes. And of course, you keep coming back to Informanté News for all your news updates. Check out some great competitions on the Informanté Radio Facebook. There's one that I was just looking at now. It started on National Cheesecake Day. That was the 23rd, and it ends on the 30th of July.
Yeah.
And cake self
and remember to please try and donate something to the families in Walfish Bay. They really could do with your help right now.
Indeed.
So yeah.
And stay healthy. You remember who remembers that garbage thing of that guy that they used to do? And stay healthy. You don't remember that?
No.
Stay healthy, guys. And
stay healthy. That was so Carl Borges. It used to play back in the days on NBC.
Is it not black and white TV or color TV?
No,
black and white TV.
I only know. I never see my father in my life. Can you dance?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah. Mr. Super Cool.
Mr. Super Cool.
All right, guys, we're out of here.
Every day we bring you the hottest music. Ultimate music mix.
Hi, let me tell you something.
They call him Mr. Well Done.
Boozy, pretty thing and you boozy.
And some outrageous conversations.
You don't even have to go too far. I mean, even today, we have something called traditional healers within all our...
A new name for which